With the NBA's trade deadline quickly approaching, we're all bunkering down preparing for the potential plethora of deals about to go down, potentially changing the landscape of the league. Every team has room to improve and expendable assets, so we should be in for all 30 teams possibly getting involved and striking a deal within the next few days. For today's video, we will be continuing on the same thing that we were on in my last video, being essentially a part 2. So if you missed the last video, be sure to go check that out after you watch this one. Basically, we'll be going through every NBA team, identifying the one player they should be looking to shop on the trade market before the deadline comes, with each selection obviously having different reasoning behind it. Last video we went through the teams in the Eastern Conference, so today we'll be finishing things off by going through the teams in the Western Conference. Before we start though, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. PrizePicks is the perfect service for all of us basketball fans here because when you're involved, it makes watching games every night so much more fun and engaging. Basically, it's an application that provides you with lines on all kinds of individual player props, such as points, rebounds, assists, and three-pointers made amongst others, and you simply have to choose whether that player will record over the set amount in the line or under the set amount in the line. Make your selections, wager however much you want to, and if your picks hit, you can win some big money. For some picks I'm looking at making for today's slate of games, I'm thinking of going with Duncan Robinson to score over 10.5 points, Cade Cunningham to dish out over 5.5 assists, and Kyle Kuzma to grab over 8.5 rebounds. If this sounds at all intriguing to you, then go use the link down in the description of the video to sign up today, and use promo code REFERENCE to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into the topic at hand. Going in alphabetical order, we'll start with the Dallas Mavericks, and the player they should be shopping before the deadline is Dorian Finney-Smith. The Mavericks have two candidates here between Finney-Smith and Jalen Brunson, as they are both on expiring contracts with a decent chance of leaving in free agency, but at least this year the Mavericks need Jalen Brunson to continue to provide help creating alongside Luka Doncic, so Finney-Smith and his 3-and-D play become much more expendable, especially because the Mavericks have become a top-ranked defense this year. The next team up is the Denver Nuggets, and the player they should be shopping is Zeke Naji. The Nuggets realistically probably won't be involved in trade season this year because of the injuries that were suffered to some of their key contributors and the lack of expendable assets at their disposal. But if they want to try to bolster the team around Jokic for the end of the year, Naji, who has shot the ball very well for them, albeit in a small role, could intrigue other teams to get a deal done on the margins. Next up is the Golden State Warriors, and the player they should be looking to shop is James Wiseman. The Warriors right now, as it stands, are ready to compete for a title, and even though they aren't a perfect team, they're pretty damn good. This is without Wiseman even playing at all so far this year, and the timeline on Wiseman's return from his injury is still very much up in the air. Wiseman is still pretty young and raw enough to hold value in a trade because of his upside, but the risks of holding on to him only for him to not pan out kind of outweigh the team's quest to win at the highest level over the next few years. Next up is the Houston Rockets, and the player they should be shopping is Christian Wood. Wood got to establish himself as someone who can produce at a high level in his time in Houston, but it has become increasingly clear this season that Wood's time in Houston is approaching its end. The Rockets need to continue to develop their young core, and Wood is a high-usage guy that takes touches away from them in that progress. Next up is the Los Angeles Clippers, and the player they should be looking to move is Eric Bledsoe. Bledsoe was brought in to possibly revitalize himself in LA, but all things considered, he's been pretty poor for them. The Clippers are reportedly looking to acquire more of a playmaking point guard, and with Reggie Jackson playing well, Bledsoe will likely be one of the pieces used to try to acquire that. Next up is the Los Angeles Lakers, and the player they should be shopping is Talen Horton-Tucker. There have been plenty of discussions about the Lakers' disappointing season thus far, and the issue is that they don't have many intriguing pieces that teams would want in a trade if they want to try to improve themselves. Horton-Tucker is still very young, but he just simply isn't nearly as good as people were hyping him up to be, so the Lakers need to try to offload him to a rebuilding team in exchange for maybe a more win-now piece. Up next is the Memphis Grizzlies, and the player they should be looking to shop is Kyle Anderson. The Grizzlies are another team in a pretty good spot, and nothing is urgent for them, but if they want to try to capitalize on all of their success that they're having, they could dangle impending free agent Kyle Anderson in front of potential buyers. Anderson is like a Swiss Army knife, good at a lot of things but not necessarily great at any one thing, but guys like that can be the glue that holds a lineup together. Next up is the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the player they should look to trade is Malik Beasley. With the emergence of Anthony Edwards on the team, Beasley's role has shrunk significantly, and his skill set has become pretty redundant. He's a volume scorer by nature who will not hesitate to fire a bunch of threes, but with players like Edwards and D'Angelo Russell, along with Patrick Beverley in the backcourt, there just aren't as many opportunities for him on the team right now. Up next, we have the New Orleans Pelicans, and the player they should look to trade is Jaxson Hayes. Hayes hasn't been able to live up to the fact that he was a top 10 pick a few years ago, and his off-the-court issues with the law haven't really helped his case either. It won't be easy because his value has likely plummeted, but it's probably ideal for the Pelicans to just move on from him. Next up is the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the player they should be shopping is Kenrich Williams. Williams is far from a household name right now, so when it got reported that the price tag on the market for him was a first-round pick, many were pretty shocked, but honestly, he's probably worth it. Not necessarily a lottery pick or anything like that, but a mid to late round pick, sure. He's been incredibly valuable holding things together as a 3-and-D player for the Thunder, and would be earning more praise if he was on a contender in a bigger market. Next up is the Phoenix Suns, and the player they should be shopping is Jalen Smith. Smith was oddly given up on by Phoenix after just 1 year with the team when they chose to decline his team option in his contract to bring him back after this year after just 2 seasons. So after being a lottery pick in the 2020 NBA draft, he'll need to find a new home if he ever wants to have a chance to show what he can do on a regular basis in the NBA. Up next is the Portland Trail Blazers, and the player they should be shopping is CJ McCollum. With the rise of young guard Anthony Simons, the Blazers have someone that they can rebuild around if they choose to rebuild, and the first domino to fall very well could be McCollum. The Blazers' season is more than likely a goner at this point, but McCollum would absolutely be someone that teams in need of shot creation would be willing to give something of value up in return for him by the deadline. It's unfortunate, but it seems as though this could be the end of the Lillard and McCollum era in Portland. Next up is the Sacramento Kings, and the player they should be shopping is De'Aaron Fox. The cycle the Kings are currently stuck in seems to be going nowhere fast. Fox has been verbal about how he's unhappy with the state of the team moving forward, and the fact that Tyrese Halliburton has been exploding in the games that Fox hasn't been playing in could make it easier for them to move on from him. Whether it be a deal for Ben Simmons or elsewhere, Fox is going to have plenty of suitors with valuable offers. Up next, we have the San Antonio Spurs, and the player they should be shopping is Derrick White. Derrick White is 27 years old in the prime of his career. He's a solid backup point guard that makes smart decisions and provides balanced production across the board, and with the Spurs focused more on their young core moving forward, White could bring back some potential value in the direction that they're headed. And finally, the last team up is the Utah Jazz, and the player they should be looking to move before the deadline is Jordan Clarkson. Clarkson is the reigning 6th man of the year, but his season this year hasn't been nearly as valuable, nor has he been able to provide the same kind of spark. He's been struggling to shoot the ball consistently, his efficiency has tanked, and his overall scoring output is down too. So with the injury to Joe Ingles coming about recently, Clarkson could be used to find more reinforcements. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you think will be traded in the coming days. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.